Space race. What can Lizzie do when big-headed Jake challenges her to a space race? She's got to beat him, but Jake has a super-duper deluxe new spaceship that runs on special fuel.
Space Race by Malorie Blackman. Space Race. Illustrated by Colin Mear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters. Chapter 1. The Challenge. Our solar system. Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth. Astra Space Station. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Chapter 1. The Challenge. Lizzie loved living on the Astra Space Station. All her friends on Earth were so jealous when her family moved out there. Lizzie had soon made lots of new friends, and it was great fun. There was just one problem: Jake. All he did was brag and show off. Today he was at it again, boasting about his brand new super duper fat Ace Deluxe spaceship. I've got the latest computer, so all I have to do is tell it where I want to go and when I want to get there, and the computer does the rest. And my new ship's fast because it runs on diamond fuel. It's one of the first ships anywhere on this space station to run on diamond fuel, said Jake. If he was any more pleased with himself, he'd pop like a balloon, Lizzie thought to herself. I bet I've got the best spaceship in the whole school, Jake continued. He looked around the classroom. It's a lot better than any of your ships, that's for sure. Lizzie had had enough. Jake, I bet my ship could beat yours any day. The words were out of Lizzie's mouth before she could stop them. Jake burst out laughing, and he wasn't the only one. Some of the others in the class also creased up. Everyone else just looked at Lizzie as if she was seriously nuts. You must be joking, Jake scoffed. Your ship couldn't beat mine if I gave you 1 year's head start. You don't have to give me a head start. My ship can beat yours any day of the week, said Lizzie stubbornly. Okay then, let's have a race. Out to Pluto and back. The first one back to this classroom wins, said Jake. Lizzie swallowed hard. Oops. Now you've done it, whispered Lizzie's best friend, Sarah. And Sarah was right. It was one thing for Lizzie to say her ship could beat Jake's, but it was quite another to prove it. Lizzie's spaceship was old, and it only ran on emerald fuel. Jake's ship ran on diamond fuel, so it travelled a lot faster than hers ever could. You're going to back out now, aren't you? Jake said smugly. No, I'm not going to back out. Okay, you're on, said Lizzie. We'll have our race this weekend. Oh no, we won't. Let's have our race now, said Jake. But it's lunchtime, Lizzie protested. We can't race to Pluto and back. Here for the first lesson after lunch. I can, Jake smiled. I can race to Pluto and back in about 15 minutes. Lizzie's heart sank. She knew it would take her at least an hour and a half to get to Pluto and back. How could she get out of this? Jake, I hope Lizzie does beat you, said Naren. Maybe you won't show off so much. Yeah, that's right. Lizzie smiled gratefully at her friends. At least they wanted her to win. She doesn't stand a chance, and you all know it, Jake said, with his usual smirk on his face. Jake, I'll race you, but let's have our race tomorrow, early. How about 7 o'clock in the morning, said Lizzie. I need to tune my ship's engine first. That's fine by me, Jake shrugged, and you can tune up your ship all you like. You'll still never beat me. We'll see about that, said Lizzie, and she was determined that there was no way Jake was going to win the race. He needed to be taught a lesson. The only trouble was, he was right. Lizzie couldn't beat him, not unless she came up with a plan first. Chapter 2, The Plan, page 21. Later that day after school, Lizzie and her friends gathered in the pizzeria. The space station had lots of different places to eat, but they all liked pizzas the best. Lizzie gazed out of the window at the earth below and sighed. What had she let herself in for now? So, what are you going to do? Norman asked. I haven't a clue, Lizzie sighed again, and leaned her head against the cupboard, and leaned her head against her cupped hand. She stared down at her dinner plate. She hadn't touched her Andorian beetle pizza, and it was usually her favourite. She didn't seem to have much of an appetite. Don't you want your dinner? Darla asked. Lizzie shook her head. Immediately, many different hands reached into her plate for her beetle pizza. Naran won. He chewed on the pizza with obvious relish, enjoying it all the more for the look of the disappointment on his friends' faces. If you haven't got a plan, why on earth did you want to race at 7 o'clock in the morning? Tomorrow? If you haven't got a plan, why on earth did you want to race at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning? Asked Darla. I was hoping Jake would say it was too early, Lizzie replied. No chance. Jake would race you at 3 o'clock in the morning if it gave him a chance to show off, sniffed Naran. Just then, Sarah came into the pizzeria. She took a quick look around before making for Lizzie's table. Do you know what I heard, just? Do you know what I just heard? Sarah asked furiously. Everyone shook their heads. No. What? I left my pocket PC in the classroom, and I had to go back to get it so I could do my homework. But Jake and his friends were already there. Lizzie, Jake's going to make sure that you don't win. He's going to sabotage your ship's engine tonight, so there's no chance of you beating him. What a trog, Darla exploded. You said it, Lizzie nodded vigorously. He doesn't have to fix my ship. His ship could beat mine fair and square. Jake doesn't know the meaning of the word fair, Sarah sniffed. We've got to teach him a lesson. We've got to. Come on, Lizzie, think. Lizzie told herself sternly. She had come up with a plan. But what? And then it hit her like an asteroid shower. I've got it. I know how I can win this race and teach Jake a lesson once and for all, Lizzie told her friends. They all looked at each other. We're all ears, said Sarah. Good, because I can't do this without your help, said Lizzie. I'm going to need each and every one of you. We're with you, Lizzie, said Naran, and they all gathered closer to hear Lizzie's plan. Chapter 3, The Race Begins, page 32. Chapter 3, The Race Begins. The following morning at 7 o'clock precisely, Lizzie and Jake entered Docking Bay 3. Both of their ships were there, waiting for takeoff. I'm surprised you bothered to turn up, Jake told Lizzie. I'm going to win this race, smiled Lizzie. You've got space fever, Jake replied. We'll see. Lizzie climbed into her spaceship without another word. Once they were both cleared for takeoff, the countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they were off. Jake roared ahead at once. He veered towards Lizzie's ship, forcing her to drop back or risk being smashed into. Jake watched. His hands relaxed behind his head as Lizzie's ship fell further and further behind. By the time he had passed Mars, Lizzie's ship was no more than a small blip on his rear windscreen. Jake slowed down his own ship. He certainly didn't have to hurry. Lizzie would never catch him now. He'd seen to that. Jake spoke to his computer. Computer, connect me through to Lizzie's ship. Immediately, Lizzie's face appeared on the space communicator. If you want to give up now, you'd save us both a lot of time and energy, and you'd save yourself a lot of humiliation, Jake told her. Lizzie frowned at him. Jake, why on earth would I want to give up when I'm ahead of you? What are you talking about, said Jake. Look out of your front windscreen, said Lizzie. I'm approaching Jupiter now. You should have been able to see me ahead of you. You can't be ahead. Jake was stunned. You were thousands of kilometers behind me. Not anymore. I spent all of yesterday evening fine-tuning my ship. And what's more, I've got a secret weapon. You'll never catch me, grinned Lizzie. Jake looked, and sure enough, up ahead in the distance was Lizzie's ship. What's your secret weapon? How did you pass me? Jake was furious. Temper, temper, Lizzie teased. If you'll admit defeat now, and say my ship is better than yours, then we don't have to go any further. No way, said Jake. Computer, set course for Pluto, at maximum speed. Jake's ship lurched forward and started to race towards Jupiter. In less than 5 minutes, Jake passed Lizzie's ship. He still couldn't understand how Lizzie had passed him, but it wouldn't happen again. The next stop was Saturn, and after that, Lizzie wouldn't see him for space dust. Chapter 4, Beaten, page 42. Chapter 4, Beaten. Jake waited until he passed Saturn before slowing down again. Beaming like a light beacon, he reconnected with Lizzie's ship. I don't know how you got ahead of me now, but it doesn't matter. I'm winning again, said Jake. I don't think so. Lizzie shook her head. I've almost reached Neptune, so I'm in the lead. And sure enough, when Jake checked his scanner, Lizzie's ship was indeed ahead of him. Jake just couldn't understand it. Computer, go at maximum possible speed, ordered Jake. I'm not going to lose this race. I'm not. Jake's ship raced past Uranus towards Neptune. He soon passed Lizzie's ship and headed on towards Pluto. Jake wasn't going to take any chances this time. He wasn't going to slow down until he got back to the space station. No way was Lizzie going to pass him again. Jake zipped around Pluto and started making his way back to the Astra space station. He had no idea how Lizzie managed to keep passing him. What was his secret weapon she had told him about? How could any secret weapon be better than diamond fuel? Jake scanned the area ahead as he neared Neptune on his return journey. His space communicator beeped at him. Moments later, Lizzie's face appeared. Come on, Jake, I thought you'd be able to keep up with me at least, Lizzie teased. What do you mean, said Jake. I'm coming up the rings of Saturn, Lizzie told him. You're going to have to do better than this. How are you doing it, Jake asked, bewildered. How do you keep managing to pass me? I don't even see you until you're ahead of me. That's thanks to my secret weapon. Besides, space is a big place. I don't have to take exactly the same route as you, Lizzie told him. But... See you back at the space station, Lizzie smiled. Computer, maximum speed back home, Jake commanded. We have been travelling at maximum speed for the last 5 minutes and 44 seconds, the computer replied. Jake sped past Saturn, raced past Jupiter, zoomed past Mars, and screeched to a halt back in Docking Bay 3 on the space station. But it didn't make any difference. By the time he landed, Lizzie was already there waiting for him. He had been beaten. Chapter 5, The Secret Weapon, page 51. Chapter 5, The Secret Weapon. I want to see this secret weapon, Jake demanded. Do you admit that I beat you, Lizzie asked. Yes, Jake said in a tiny voice. I can't hear you. Yes, Jake shouted. Now can I see your secret weapon? I don't think so, Lizzie said, considering carefully. Oh, but I'm bursting to know how you managed to beat me, Jake protested. If you tell everyone that I beat you, I'll think about it. Lizzie grinned. Later on that day, Lizzie and her friends Naren and Sarah and Darla all sat down for lunch. Lizzie looked out of the view window and smiled at all the stars around them. She loved living on the Astra space station, but there was always something new and exciting going on, and today was a particularly good day. Jake had been beaten. Has Jake guessed how we did it yet? Asked Naren. Lizzie shook her head. I feel a bit guilty about the way we beat him. After all, we did cheat. No, we didn't. We just used our imaginations, that's all, laughed Sarah. Besides, he was the one who tried to fix the race, Darla pointed out. Anyway, you were all brilliant, said Lizzie. I couldn't have done it without you.
Just then Jake appeared, with an expression on his face that none of them had ever seen before. For once he wasn't smirking. "Listen, everyone," Jake shouted out. The school dining hall went very quiet. "This morning Lizzie and I had a race out to Pluto and back, and Lizzie beat me. I lost." Everyone started clapping. The whole school knew about Jake's boasting, and this was the first time he admitted he wasn't perfect. Jake sat down at Lizzie's table. "Now, Lizzie, please tell me how you did it." Lizzie looked around the table at her friends. Should she or shouldn't she? "Well, if you must know," she began. Jake leaned closer. "I didn't race you. Not really," Lizzie admitted. "What do you mean?" frowned Jake. "I mean, I got as far as Mars and turned back," said Lizzie. "But I saw your ship. First you were ahead of me at Jupiter, and then I had to overtake you again at Neptune," said Jake. "And on the way back, you were ahead of me again at Saturn." "No, I wasn't," Lizzie smiled. "You passed Sarah's ship at Jupiter, and you passed Naren's ship at Neptune, and on the way back, you passed Darla's ship at Saturn. One good thing about all of us having old ships is that they all look the same. I just came back here and pretended it was me all the time." So it wasn't you?" Jake was amazed. "Nope. My friends were my secret weapon," said Lizzie. Jake leapt to his feet. "But that's not fair. I'm going to tell everyone." "What, how you fixed my engine so there was no way I could beat you?" Lizzie asked. "How you couldn't even race against me fair and square without cheating?" Jake stared at her. "How did you find out about that?" "A little comet told me," Lizzie replied. "And the next time you have a race, don't cheat. You might find you actually win." The end.